the 7th year after Hijra, a defining moment unfolded in the pages of Islamic history, the Battle of Khyber. It was not just a clash of swords or a campaign of military might. It was the day when the truth stood against the walls of arrogance, and one man, chosen by Allah, shook the very foundations of an empire built on tyranny. That man was none other than Mola Ali ibn Abi Talib. Yes, this story is not a legend. It is history, and it is as alive today as it was on that battlefield. Listen closely. Let your heart walk through the dust of Khyber, feel the echo of hooves, and hear the whispers of bravery that never faded. Khyber was a region of well-fortified Jewish settlements about 150 kilometers from Medina. It consisted of several forts, with strong stone walls and defensive architecture that made it nearly impenetrable. These forts were built not just to protect, but to dominate the region, holding strategic power over trade and influence in Arabia. The Jewish tribes of Khyber, especially the Banu Nadir who had settled there after being exiled from Medina, had become a center of political and military power. Many among them had breached their treaties with the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, conspiring against the Muslim community by collaborating with Quraysh and other enemies of Islam. The Prophet, PBUH, was a messenger of peace. His heart was full of mercy and forgiveness. But when peace is betrayed and the security of the Ummah endangered, then patience gives way to justice. The betrayal at Khyber could not be ignored, and so the Muslims prepared for battle. Approximately 1,400 devoted souls, driven not by greed but by faith, marched with the Prophet, PBUH, toward the gates of Khyber. They were outnumbered, lightly armed, but their strength was in their Iman. The siege of Khyber was not easy. The Muslims strategically surrounded the area, cutting off supplies and waiting for the defenders to weaken. Several smaller forts, like Nada and Shak, fell after brief but fierce encounters. Each fort had its own defenders, its own leadership, and its own tactics. But none matched the strength and arrogance of Camus, the strongest fort, heavily guarded and home to the fiercest warriors of Khyber. Repeated attempts to storm Camus ended in disappointment. Great companions like Abu Bakr and Umar, R.A., led attacks, but the gates would not fall. Resistance was strong. Arrows rained from above. Warriors fought bravely. Fatigue and doubt began to settle into the Muslim camp. And then the Prophet, PBUH, spoke words that lit fire in the hearts of believers. Tomorrow, I shall give the banner to a man who loves Allah and his messenger, and whom Allah and his messenger love. Victory shall be granted at his hands. All eyes waited, and the next day, the Prophet, PBUH, called for Ali ibn Abi Talib, AS. But Ali was not in the battlefield. He was in his tent, his eyes swollen with infection. The Prophet, PBUH, applied his blessed saliva to Ali's eyes. In an instant, the pain was gone, vision restored, destiny summoned, and with it, the banner of Islam was handed to Ali AS. Ali AS advanced with the banner in one hand and the name of Allah on his lips. The battlefield became silent. All watched as he approached the gates of Camus. From the shadows emerged Marhab, the most feared warrior of Khyber. Dressed in heavy armor, his sword glinting in the sun, he shouted his famous lines. Khyber knows well who I am. Marhab, the armed, the undefeated. Ali, as, replied with calm thunder. I'm the one my mother named Haidar, the lion. The clash that followed was more than a duel. It was a war between truth and falsehood, courage and arrogance. Swords met in midair. Sparks flew, and in a flash, with a mighty strike of Zulfiqar, Ali, AS, split Marhab's helmet and head in two. Panic spread through the fort. The morale of the defenders shattered. But the gate still stood, heavy locked, immovable. And then came the miracle. Ali, AS, driven by divine energy, grabbed the massive iron door of the fort. With a cry of Bismillah, he lifted it, not with arrogance, but with the force of truth. He tore the gate from its hinges and used it as a shield. Witnesses later said that 40 men could not move what Ali, AS, lifted alone. With the gate removed and resistance collapsed, the Muslims entered the fort. The defenders surrendered. But there was no bloodshed, no vengeance. The Prophet, PBUH, entered the fort not as a conqueror, but as a prophet of mercy. He forgave many. The inhabitants were allowed to stay in Khyber under peace terms. Their lives, their families, and their property were protected. A fair agreement was made. They would continue to cultivate the land, and a portion of their produce would go to the Muslim treasury. It was a moment of supreme justice and humanity. The world saw what Islam truly was. Not a religion of oppression, but of order, mercy, and honor. Ali, A.S., had proven not only unmatched strength, but unmatched character. In the moment of absolute power, he displayed absolute humility. The story of Khyber did not end that day. It echoed through generations. From that moment on, the name of Ali, A.S., was remembered as the gate breaker, the Lion of Allah, the one through whom Allah gave victory to his prophet. His sword, Zulfiqar, became a symbol not just of battle, but of divine justice. His stance at Khyber reminded the world that one man, when backed by truth and faith, can move mountains or even iron gates. Children of Islam, youth of today, remember Khyber when you feel weak. Remember Ali, A.S., when challenges seem too big. For the walls of Khyber still stand in your life, in your fears, in your doubts, in your obstacles. And the spirit of Ali, A.S., lives in every believer who stands tall with faith. This was not just a story of a battle. It was a lesson in faith, in sacrifice, in divine power. A moment where history was written not by kings or empires, but by a man who feared only Allah. Like, share, and subscribe for more true stories of Islamic history, courage, and light. Let the voice of truth echo once more. And whenever the world builds walls around you, remember the day a lion roared at Khyber and the gate fell.